love is reckless abandon. We talked some weeks ago about the different kinds of love, finishing with the agape, which is the unconditional love of our God and Father. The fruit of hard work. A management consultant makes the following observation. Be the first in the office every morning, the last to leave every night. Never take a day off. Slave through the lunch hour. And the inevitable day will come when the boss will summon you to his office and say, I've been watching you and see your work very carefully, Jackson. Just what the devil are you up to anyway? The guy is as faithful as he can possibly be, and the boss thinks he has an ulterior motive. What are you up to anyway? The passage of scripture read this morning sweeps us up like a drama. And we have a vision of that final judgment. And so we return to this world with a disconcerting idea that we better shape up. This ambition and determination has to become a reality. I have a friend, a good friend, who is always planning things. He's going to do this, he's going to do that. 6 weeks later, he hasn't done any of it. And it's a dangerous thing for us because, you have good ideas, but they don't develop into anything. There's opportunity. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Well, maybe not today, tomorrow. And we procrastinate. And the end of the situation is that nothing is done. I get it once or twice, sometimes. If I don't do this that wifey had asked me to do, I asked you to do this several days ago. I start computing. Well, 2 days ago, yes, but not several. There's a lot of difference between 2 days and several. And then I'll turn around and chuckle to myself because there's something that she was going to do that's been sitting there for weeks. But it's all right for me to jump and do when I'm supposed to do it. So if you want to keep wife happy, do as she says. Okay? So this makes things a little concerning if we are followers of the man in the way. Since this is, in a way, the final word of Christ to his disciples, it's not surprising to find the titles and the phrases that summarize all that Christ is. Son of Man, King, Lord, Judge, like those who like to refer to the Sermon on the Mount, or 1 Corinthians 13, as the essence of Christ's ethics. We might be tempted to list the duties of this account: to feed the hungry, welcome the stranger, visit the sick and imprisoned, clothe the naked, and conclude then that is all that there is to it. But that is to say and do what many non-Christian groups say and do. You don't necessarily have to be Christian to feed the hungry, welcome the stranger, visit the sick and imprison, clothe the naked. What we must insist on is that at the heart of all Christian ethics is Christ himself. Once we get it straight about Christ, then we can put him in the center of all, and we are free to do the things he expects from us. We cannot be casual about our responsibility as believers. Selfless love for others that brings us into the most desperate places of the world is what Christ speaks to us about in this discourse. It is not optional. Our eternal destiny depends on it, whether we send humanitarian aid of food and medicines to Venezuela, to the continent of Africa now with all the cyclone that hit them. This is the responsibility that we have. To bring canned goods to the food bank. Our eternal destiny depends upon it. Cyprian, the 3rd century martyr, wrote these words to his friend Donatus. This is a cheerful world as I see it from my garden under the shadows of the trees. But if I climb some high mountain and look out over the wide lands, you know very well what I would see. Brigands and highways, armies, brigands on the highways, armies fighting, cities burning, selfishness, cruelty, misery and despair on the most roofs. It is a bad world, Donatus, but I have discovered in the midst of it a quiet and holy people who are learned a great secret. They are despised and persecuted, but they don't care. They are masters of their own souls. They have come and overcome this world. These people, Donatus, are Christians, and I am one of them. The 3rd century, this was written. And of course, this is relevant today, isn't it? You just have to turn on the television and shake your heads at the reporting that comes in. What is good that is coming in? Mighty little. There is no idle ground. We cannot say, well, I am not as involved as I should be, but at least I am not doing any harm. Turn back the clock to World War II. There were those who didn't necessarily approve of what Hitler was doing, but it didn't affect them, so they didn't bother to interfere. And of course that disease spread until it came to the time when they were challenged and probably hauled off into prison. When nobody was there to help me, well, a little bit late then. We have to be on top of things, and we find in the society today, especially necessary for the Christian to speak up. You look at the politics of the world in which we live, and it makes us shake our heads. We work for a greater vision for the church. It's kind of hard to say that when we talk about meetings when they've rearranged everything, but they don't know the answers to anything that they've rearranged. A little bit confusing to say the least. And how can you call somebody to arms in that sense of the word when there's no word to have them follow, no direction for them to follow? One of the things I didn't tell you, or maybe I did, was at our gathering, they spent an hour dancing. That boggles the mind. The discussion, which was the essential reason for going there to decide what we're going to do in the future, that took place after supper. And a lot of them, people like with your group, I guess they just went home. Because there again, there were no answers, just more questions. I always thought that if you were planning to do something, you looked into all the possibilities, the way of doing it, the simplest way of doing it, the least expensive way of doing it, and yet being able to do a good job. You didn't just go and say, I'm going to do this, and then haphazardly throw something together. But of course, the idea these days is that bigger is better. Even with our health system, there's the possibility of trying to close local hospitals so that we go to one great big one which will do everything. But that could be a 4-hour journey for you, and then 3 or 4 appointments. Well, that doesn't seem to matter to some people. It's whatever's convenient for them. So where are we going to bring about a greater vision for the church? The community committees working for the betterment of the people and around the communities, caring for the hungry, for the children, the elderly. All of God's people are important to him. Nobody is pushed to one side. And it is our responsibility to help them out of their need. We're either with the sheep or the goats. For as we respond or fail to respond to human need, we are in fact responding to Christ or failing to respond to Christ, just giving him lip service. That which you do to the least of these, my people, you do also unto me. You can't get around that. Saying, well, I don't understand. Of course you understand. Is there this all by deliberate, calculated choice? Not really. It's clear that those who do these things find they come so naturally that they were surprised when Christ commends them on that final day. It's just the right thing to do. That is as it should be. Love at its best is not deliberate or calculated. It is reckless abandon. It is the agape that Christ was talking to us about. Some children were asked, what is love and what is true love? The little girl answers by saying, well, Mummy reads me a bedtime story, that's love. But when she doesn't skip any of the pages, that's true love. You could say the same thing about what you consider to be love. Well, that's bread and butter. But true love is jam on the bread and butter. The same sort of thing. Love never counts the cost. It is surprised that its deeds are even noticed, because it has no need to be noticed. Love is reckless abandon. So we make plans during this time of Lent for the Easter, the gathering of the families, the opportunity for sharing and caring, reliving memories. But let us put Christ into the center of our festivity, our plans, and let him guide us through this blessed time of Lent. For that which you do to the least of these my people, you do also unto me. We spoke about ambition, what we would like to do, and determination that enables us to do it. There was a story told of a chap who was by the name of Charlie Paddock. Years ago, a young black child was growing up in Cleveland in a home which Luther described as materially poor but spiritually rich. One day, a famous athlete, Charlie Paddock, came to his school to speak to the students. At the time, Paddock was considered the fastest human being, wait a minute, it's here somewhere, alive. He told the children, listen, what do you want to be? You name it, and then believe that God will help you become it. That little boy decided that he too wanted to be the fastest being on earth. The boy went to his track coach and told him of his new dream. His coach told him, it's great to have a dream, but to attain your dream, you must build a ladder to it. Here is the ladder to your dreams. The first rung is determination. The second rung is dedication. The third rung is discipline. The fourth rung is attitude. The result of all that motivation is that he went on to win 4 gold medals in the 1936 Berlin Olympics. He won the 100-meter dash and broke the Olympic and world records for the 200-meter. His broad jump record lasted for 21 years, and his name, Jesse Owens. Of course, Jesse was black. That didn't sit well with Hitler. Surprise, surprise.